house subject to, just like I taught him, put it in a trust, just like I taught him, as you taught me in your course. Everyone here in Pennsylvania told me you couldn't do what I did. Land trusts don't work in Pennsylvania. Well, he's getting sarcastic. Well, I guess they're right. I took the house subject to in a trust. My cost was $30 a notary fee, $60 recorded fee. After the rehab costs, I left the settlement table with over $49,000 in my pocket. This has allowed me to buy 3 houses that I'm keeping for rentals, or should I say lease options, rent to own, another great concept I learned from your course. My new buyers just love the houses and the concept of home ownership through lease options and contract for deed. Thanks for a great seminar, great set of course materials. I'll always be a fan and grateful. Now, Phil started with me. He went on to become the president of the Philadelphia DIG, the Diversified Investors Group in Philadelphia, 1,200 members. See, he just did what I told him to do, and he became very successful in his real estate career, and he grew up to become the president of the organization. So there's amazing things that can happen when you get what knowledge is what? Power. And what? How many of you get some new knowledge tonight? You get some new knowledge you never heard before, baby? Is that a beautiful thing? We're not done yet. It gets better. Yes, sir.
When, like in this transaction where he did the subject to, did he name the seller of the property as the trustee?
No! We're not going to do that.
So he's got to name some private person that he trusts.
The seller is dead to you.
Okay.
We're not going to put the seller's name in the name of the trust, because they could come back and claim it was their trust. So we don't want the seller's name on there anywhere. How do you think I know that?
You've done it.
You got it. Before taking your course, I was renting out my houses, getting first and last month's rent security deposit, which many times the courts would make me return even though there was damage done to the property. After taking your course, I lease auctioned the property, got $5,000 non-refundable lease auction consideration, $200 per month above the highest rents in town, total of $7,400 for the first house in the first year. People told me I was crazy for spending so much money on a real estate course. Yeah, crazy like a fox. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Antoine, he is the president of the Fayetteville, North Carolina Real Estate Investors Association. Wanted to let you know how great your trust system is because of your system. Oh, this kind of blew apart, didn't it? Oh, here it is. I was able to buy 4 properties in a land trust and have step-by-step directions from your system on how to get the EIN number to open up a trust bank account. This is the best system by far, giving you each step along the way. I also used your buying, selling, and holding course to get owner financing from the seller, and now I have 4 properties bringing in $1,900 a month in income. Thanks, Lou. Yeah, baby. Is that a beautiful thing? Give him a hand. Yes. Now, Antoine only started with me about a year ago. And he's just been following the system. In fact, here's house number 1, here's house number 2, here's house number 3, and here's house number 4. Humble abodes, wouldn't you say? But he bought each one in its own trust, just exactly like I taught him to do. He got the seller to carry back financing. So without going to banks and without qualifying, this is another specialty I have, is that to teach you how to have the seller be the bank. Without you going to bank, the seller will be the bank for you. When you use what I call the magic words, when you say the right things, they will be willing to do it. So we've talked about all these good things. This is good. All right, so I've got probate avoidance, division of assets prior to death. So let's say that you've got an estate, you've got some current assets. Think about it this way, that each property, each asset goes into its own trust. Each one of those trusts can have different beneficiaries. So let's say you have 3 houses and 3 children. Each house could go to separately to each child. Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Now you just eliminated family squabbles. Do families ever argue about money? You just eliminated, because you gave each whomever whatever you intended for them to have, and they got that day of your death. automatically passes to them. No family squabbles. None of this. Everything is to be sold and shared alike. What? Sold to real estate investors who are going to get a deal on it because everybody wants to be done with it. That doesn't have to happen. Each child can choose what they want to do with their asset. Child number one saw how good mom and daddy did. They want to keep doing the same thing. They keep it. Child number two needs some money, but wants to keep the house. They can put a lien against it, a loan against it, get some cash out of it, but keep the property. Child number three has already bought the Harley.
Three little things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
You know the step-up rule, right? Like when parents give property to their children.
Step-up basis.
Thank you. Step-up basis. In a trust situation, does it work?
Absolutely, because these are flow-through entities. So for the purpose of the IRS, remember the IRS says these trusts are invisible to us because all we care about is the beneficiary. So whomever the beneficiary, step up in basis, all of that is fine. Every benefit that you would get as an individual, you can still get using a trust. That includes if you want to use a 1031 tax-deferred exchange. I just sold a property 2 weeks ago on a 1031 tax-deferred exchange. It was in trust, and every property we're buying to use those funds with will all be bought in different trusts. But what's the commonality? The beneficiary. That's all the IRS cares about. Commonality of beneficiary. Okay? Are we learning anything tonight?
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. All right. So dividing your asset, dividing your estate per asset, separating the beneficiaries is a beautiful thing we get from this. There's no separate tax return as with other entities. Ability to take title subject to existing loans safely. This is a biggie. This is like a big biggie. Whenever you borrow money from a bank or anywhere, do they charge you points
Yeah.
and closing costs and all that good stuff? Now what if you could walk into a seller and make a presentation in a certain way that has them want to give you their property, number one, and number two, allow you to take over the existing financing. And all you do is just take over the payments that are already on the property. How many of you love that plan? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my world. This is what I do. This is exactly what I do. And I'll teach you more about that. We're going to go into some depth on that on Saturday. Ease of transfer. How great is it if the deed is already in the name of the trust on public record and you merely transfer the beneficial interest in the trust to the new buyer? Is that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
That's a paper transaction not published anywhere on public record. Not published anywhere.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Does that make the mind wander? What you could do, the possibilities are endless. Yes, sir.
So I have some property under a corporation. If I transfer to a trust, does that trigger a reassessment?
It may. It may. So you have to look at that and ask the question, if I keep the corporation as the beneficiary of the trust, will it remain the same? It should. And what I've done in the past is always notify the tax department of exactly that there's been no real change in ownership. It's the same people. It's just for estate. Listen, when you leave this room tonight, I've been giving you some great secrets, right? Those are some good cookies. When you leave the room tonight, the only thing you ever say out in the real world is estate planning purposes. Everything you're doing is for estate planning purposes. Repeat after me. What?
Estate
planning
purposes. Oh, they go right to sleep on that. They don't even see what you're doing. It's a beautiful thing. So ease of transfer can happen because it's a paper transfer, and they take over ownership of the property on paper, but it doesn't get published anymore. It's an easy entity to start because literally, when I teach you how to fill out the paperwork, it's press print. You're ready. You're ready to go. It's an easy entity to operate because there's nothing to operate. I mean, have you ever had to do anything with your deed after you got the deed, after you bought the property? You kind of like put it in the drawer and forgot about it after that? This is the same thing. Just like that. You put it in the drawer, you forget about it until you die. Now,
I have a question. Sorry, Dave,
Yes,
for
sir.
interrupting you. For the property, have the existing loan mortgage there?
yes.
Because the deed is not on my name, as the mortgage company has it. Why don't you deed it out of my name?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's
So,
a beautiful, wonderful
yes.
thing.
So you can absolutely, you still have control over the deed. What you don't have control over is the mortgage,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You control the deed, meaning you can deed out of your name. But when you deed out of your name, it comes with a friend. It comes with that mortgage.
Yeah.
So even though you deeded it, the mortgage came with it, you see? So the bank does not lose their lien against the property. It stays right there against that property. It's just that the name on the deed changes. And you have control over that. You can change that anytime you want to.
Did that trigger a due on sale clause?
Funny, you should
No.
know.
Well, yes and no, but no.
Ability to take title subject to existing loan safely.
Oh, okay, I think that's
Aha, so that's the due on sale clause. Existing loans, taking over that existing loan through a trust. So the deeding of the property, deeding out, let's say a seller. Seller doesn't want the property anymore, they're making an agreement with you, gonna deed from their name into the trust name that you control. That deed comes with the mortgage. So you're gonna continue to pay that mortgage just like they've been paying, or not paying the mortgage. Never being in the chain of title. How many of you think it's a good idea not to be in the chain of title? Isn't that a good thing? You better believe it's a great thing. Well, except for the ones you already own. Right? So you're already in that chain of title, but you can get out of that chain of title simply by transferring it. So the fact that you used to own it does not mean that you currently own it. In fact, the very fact of recording that deed transfers that situation into the new situation of non-ownership. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Jeff,
Jeff.
what about doing a refinance? Like if you
Oh!
actually doing a conventional,
What
like
a
you go to the
great
bank
class
and
this
you want
is.
to refinance, you have to
Tom,
put
these
it
are
back in your
top
personal
level
name?
people. These people got they're on the spot. All right, there's a section in here called financing and the land trust, and you absolutely can refinance a property in trust with a bank. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA all have guidelines for trusts. Now the clerk, at the clerk level, doesn't know that. So when you ask the clerk, they don't know. Oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. You gotta go apply. So, hey, can you look it up? Look it up, okay? Look it up. And they do have guidelines on all this, so that when they look it up, oh my God, it's right here. You certainly can. Now, of course, once I teach you, Jeff, what I do, you won't ever darken the door of a bank again. There's no reason to go to the bank. We get our money from our sellers. We get our money from people's IRAs and 401ks. Nice people who aren't making anywhere near what I'm willing to offer them for their money. That's where you get your money. And for Tom, of course. Yes.
So what about our wonderful friendly friends, quote unquote, attorney friends? So especially the estate planning specialist attorneys. Are they on the same page with you, or they kind of?
Oh, no. Those guys are totally oblivious to what I'm talking about. They get this one. Where is it on there? Let's see. Let's go back. Let's go back. Far back. And let's go all the way. This is the one they're on. This is the one. All of the rest of the stuff is, they're unconscious to. Got it?
So should I invite them or no?
Good way to avoid. They can get far away to avoid. That's a really good thing to do, trust. They don't know about this other stuff. Because they're talking about a different kind of trust too. They're talking about a living trust. And this is a land trust, this is a personal property trust. So these things do things that are different than what those things do. But they also give you the stuff those things do too. All right, so how many of you are loving this? Is this a good thing? Oh, yeah. All right. So control, so that's where I'm coming in, control without ownership. Absolute control without ownership and more. All right, so good old intellectuals solve problems and geniuses prevent them, as Albert Einstein told us, and that's how we are going to move forward in getting our assets protected. And I call it estate planning as you go, because literally as you acquire properties, you'll immediately place them into these kind of trusts, and your name will never be on public record. And I've already told you tonight that you can buy HUD properties in trust. Buy them right off the HUD Home Store, bid right there. And by the way, I've got a lot of my licensees